Stafford, AJ Green, Marquez Pope, Reggie Brown, No Sean Marino, Muhammad Massaquoi, Rodney Hill.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in week 4 of the college football season coming up, and this is another episode of Herschel Talkers. Please follow us on Trey Tucker YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook. We post on Dawg Rant, SEC Rant, and 247 Sports. So follow us on that. Like, comment, whatever you like. Any kind of feedback would be great. We got Big Sean again on the phone. How we doing?
What's up?
How we doing this week? How you feeling?
Feeling good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, we're going to jump right in. Georgia had a big win last week against, I guess his FBS opponent. Is that what they call them? Football,
sure.
Small team, basically. School of the Blind, as we call them. They defeated Samford 42-14, and they moved up in the AP poll to number 11. I thought the defense looked great. It's finally a comfortable win for Georgia the last several years where you had to hold your breath to get a win, but I thought it was comfortable. Jake Fromm looked pretty good, I thought. 8 of 13, 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chubb finally got over the 100-yard mark, 16 carries, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. I thought the defense looked great. I think there was basically only 1 touchdown scored on the first string. They got a touchdown late against the backups. But gonna get your thoughts on the Samford game, Sean. What you thought about it?
Well, I mean, I think the key takeaway from that game, and I think you summarized it pretty well, is the fact that, I think for the first time in a long time, Georgia, beat an inferior opponent or, a team that wasn't as talented as they were by a score that they should have. Again, in years past, when we played, I guess what we're supposed to be the quote-unquote cupcakes or, no disrespect to those programs, but just, where the players aren't as talented as, like they are at, playoff series divisions. Georgia kind of rolled around with these teams. And so this one, we pretty much controlled and dominated from beginning to end of the game, which is kind of what you're looking for them to do. Again, so, I think that in terms of our team playing at the level they should have, I think they, without question, that defense was just dominant. The offense, again, Jake Fromm, made excellent reads. The running backs opened up, or the running backs ran hard. The offensive line protected well and opened up holes. And special teams was great as well. So, again, you played and won the game at a score, and you played it at a quality of play that you should have.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we got to see some of the backups get experience. It was really good. Thought all in all, they were a smaller team, but they aired it out a lot, so I thought it was great practice for the secondary. And total defense, we only gave up 200, or the Dogs only gave up 249 yards, which is impressive. But yeah, great win, 42-14. Now we're on to a big-time pivotal matchup. We got Mississippi State Bulldogs coming to town off a huge win for them as they destroyed LSU 37-17. So they come rolling into town with a lot of confidence. Early spread looking from ESPN is Dogs minus 5.5 against Mississippi State. They've got Nick Fitzgerald coming in. I believe he's like 6'5", 230 pounds, and he is a Georgia native of Richmond Hill, which is I believe right outside of Savannah. He didn't really get that many offers. Mississippi State looked at him. But going to get your thoughts on Mississippi State coming in town. Sean actually got to watch that game, Mississippi State LSU. So what's your thoughts coming in? And I'm a little, of course, as usual, I'm a little scared about the game. But get your thoughts on Mississippi State coming in town.
Sure. Well, first of all, and I don't mean any disrespect to Mississippi State, I'll be the first to admit that they could certainly come in to Athens and beat us. That said, I think in the national media and probably among SEC fans, I think that there's a lot of people are a lot more impressed with that win over LSU than I think that maybe is merited. And the reason why I say that is if you watch the game, LSU's offense and defense were both atrocious. I mean, they couldn't stop Mississippi State, and they couldn't score points either. Now, that said, when they did score, it kind of looked like a typical Todd Graham defense, which, is a former Georgia defensive coordinator and now defensive coordinator at Mississippi State. So, to me, when you look at Mississippi State, yes, they're undefeated, but, LSU just, to me, this looks like a really down year for them. Looking at how well LSU played in that game, I'm not so certain that both South Carolina, Kentucky, or arguably Tennessee last Saturday, wouldn't have beaten LSU by at least 10 points or so. I mean, LSU just looked that bad. I mean, I don't know how else to describe a team that looked like drizzling shits other than they looked like the drizzling shits. And again, maybe it was just one game, and maybe Mississippi State is that much better and is really that good. But I just don't think you know yet. And obviously we'll never know, until you really get in the game. Now, you've probably got some stronger indicators based on the quality of opponents certain teams play heading into a matchup like this that can kind of give you a barometer of what, of the probability of how a game's going to end up. But, Mississippi State hasn't really played a whole lot of people either. I mean, when you look at LSU, Mississippi State's right now got, I think, 5th best scoring defense in the nation.
Yeah.
I think the best offense they played is actually LSU's, and LSU's offense is 70th in the nation. They played Louisiana Tech, whose defense is even lower ranked than LSU's.
I think, and they actually put 21 on them, so they scored the most. 21 points.
Right,
on.
and then you've got, I believe they played Charleston Southern and blanked them. So, you've got 3 wins there, I guess, but, none of them are against a team that's that I would really call a quality opponent. So you don't really know how good Mississippi State is going into this game. And I don't want to sound like a homer. I try to be a realist and objective about this. I think Georgia's got a little bit more of an impressive schedule coming in from this standpoint. That, yes, we played an FBS school as well with App State, but App State's not even FBS anymore.
Yeah, Sun Belt. They're 2-1.
Correct. So, I mean, even though that, it's not necessarily like a USC or a Texas or a major conference program of that quality, that's still a pretty good program. Georgia looked good. We also went up to South Bend, Notre Dame, beat them on the road. We beat them with a true freshman quarterback when our offensive line wasn't playing particularly great, when we were making a lot of stupid penalties, and when we had some, some special teams errors. So, that's a pretty big win on the road. Again, I think that, I think Mississippi State, could they come in and beat Georgia? Absolutely. I mean, there's that old adage that you're only a puncher's chance away from being a champion and a world champion prize fight. It's the same thing here. They certainly can come out and, get one against us Saturday. But, again, I mean, to me, I don't really know that Mississippi State is as good as a lot of the hype's merited, just because I don't know that the quality of the opponents that they played look that good. They haven't looked particularly dominant either. They've scored a lot of points or whatever, but again, it just looks like, kind of going through the motions, and LSU wasn't really tackling well. They really weren't pass rushing well. A lot of arm tackle, stuff like that. I mean, it looked kind of like cupcake scores, basically.
Yeah, I think they're also missing 4 starters on defense from what I read too. So that was a little bit of a blow.
Right. I think even though Arden Key played in the game, it was his first game back. So you don't necessarily know what people's conditioning is like at that level either. So the spread's -5. I think that probably indicates that Vegas really isn't necessarily sure which of our teams is better, but or they don't feel that strongly that Georgia's that much better. But I think that win over Notre Dame on the road, maybe give us a little bit of a slighter edge. I think defensively we're better. I take our defense and then against anybody who's in the SEC, maybe short of Bama's. And even there, I think probably our defensive line, I think matches up well with them. I think we've got better outside linebackers than Bama, maybe inside linebackers as well. Secondary maybe goes to Bama, but, our defense is legit. And it shows up on film whether we're playing, a major program like Notre Dame or we're playing a team like, an App State or, a Samford. The offense, it seems like it's getting, it seems like there's progress there. It's definitely better than it was last year. Fromm doesn't really play like a freshman. He stays pretty composed. So, again, I think we win that game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7 to 10 points. Read an article, too, where, you talk about one of the guys who's really kind of stepped up this year. And I think we talked about him, under our breath being a potential bust, and that's Lorenzo Carter because kid came in 5-star, a lot of hype. It was one of those national day decisions that was down between us and LSU. Georgia lost a lot of those battles in the past. But we get him. He has a great freshman year. And then sophomore and junior year, you really don't see a lot of the sacks and stuff like that. And people are like, well, maybe he's 1 year hype. I mean, that guy's been all over the field. Kirby said that, I think in his press conference that, he's never really seen a player improve as much over 1 year going into their senior year as Lorenzo Carter. He's really become a leader. He's not just coming off the field and just sitting there and, talking to coaches about diagnostics and stuff like that, schemes. When the second string guys are in there, just talking with them, trying to get them pumped up. I mean, really kind of become a leader on that field. And I think that's what you need. You've got a lot of upperclassmen and a lot of good, players that are upperclassmen. Trent Thompson Jr., Roquan Smith Jr., Natrez Patrick Jr., Malcolm Parrish, who will be playing senior, and Lorenzo Carter and Devin Bellamy, the outside linebackers that are seniors. So playing the game, of this magnitude, I think they understand what it is. I don't think it's going to get to their head. Again, I think if they know what it takes to win this game, I think they'll be ready for it. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you got Chubb and Michelle. Again, they've been in big games before. They know how to handle that moment. You got a freshman quarterback that's unfazed. So, again, I think that, Georgia's got a good shot in this. I'm not really worried about, a blowout or us being overmatched by any means.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, special teams have been playing pretty well. I think that's going to really help, too, because I know Georgia was a little lacking last several years. So that's going to be a positive.
Yeah. This unheralded player for Georgia, it has been, that fifth-year senior transfer punter we got in just because, as you said, he's booming those balls. And, he's really kind of putting the defense in good field position, when they take that field. You may not necessarily think about it, but, there's a big difference game in, game out when you got a guy that can kind of pin the defense or pin an offense inside that 25-yard line as opposed to somebody that's getting it to 35 or the 40-yard line.
Exactly.
Because the difference in that case between, points is really 1 or 2 first downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely agree. And then also, wild thing, Rodrigo's making his kicks, and he's had a lot of touchbacks, which is big. So, last year he'd kick it to the 5 or the 10, they'd have a big run back, so that's been great. Another thing I want to look at is reading more and more about him. I think on their defense, Mississippi State's defense, they've got this Jeffrey Simmons kid who's wreaking havoc, nose tackle. He's getting a lot of accolades. And then he'll be going against, I guess he'll be over at nose tackle, he'll be over Lamont Galliard. He's probably the smallest lineman, so I hope that doesn't cause a lot of problems up the middle. But hopefully we can establish the run. Of course, this will be probably a big test with our offensive line on the defensive line. But I'm gonna read out some numbers for you about Mississippi State so far. I know it's really, really early in the season, but 268 yards last week. So Nick Fitzgerald had 180 passing and 88. Then he was 15 of 23 with no interceptions and also rushed 14 times. He is 6'5", 230. rushing yards. They had 146 yards rushing against LSU, and that was that Eris Williams kid. So that might be something under the radar that they can actually run the ball pretty good. And 169.5 yards per game was given up by LSU's defense in its first two games versus BYU and Chattanooga. So basically, they can run the ball, and they had 463 total yards against LSU. And then total yards, 224 yards for LSU against Todd Grantham, Mississippi State's defense. Darius Geis, who's one of the top running backs, only had 76 yards. They've only had one sack for Mississippi State allowed. That's the least in the SEC. So it looks like they got a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, though, I mean, and again, I'm not knocking necessarily Mississippi State, but the thing is, I do question, how good the defense is given the caliber of opponents they played. Again, this is not like a last year's kind of LSU team where at least you had some defense. I mean, this LSU team looked bad on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of have South Carolina would have been the early 2000s, where it's just they're kind of out there, they're chasing you around, or kind of like you have the Tucker family flag football game where you got a bunch of midgets chasing you around, and that's about it. That's kind of how LSU's defense looked in that game. I mean, it just in LSU, I think they put more players on NFL rosters this past year than any other university in the nation. So, I mean, they've had some talented teams without question in years past, but that group that showed up in Starksville on Saturday wasn't one of them. Yeah. So, or they certainly didn't play like they're one of them.
Could have just been that Dan Mullins outcoached Waterboy Algeron, and that's why he was assistant coach for years. Could have just been he came in with a bad game plan and just got outcoached too,
I mean, yeah, but here's my thing. To me, when you talk about the impact of coaching, you're talking about coaches who can kind of get their players psychologically motivated for a game and focused for the game. And you're also talking about coaches that don't make calls or decisions that really hurt their team's chances of winning the game, right? To me, I don't know what Ed Orgeron, short of maybe holding his players' parents hostage at gunpoint, is supposed to do about a defensive line that's getting absolutely no pressure, linebackers that, aren't, in position to make tackles, in an offense that just, does nothing against, against Mississippi State. I mean, it was just literally, the players just looked that much, better. And maybe it was LSU just wasn't, maybe part of it is they weren't psychologically motivated, but, I mean, I don't necessarily want to overhype the situation either and say that, Mullen came out there like Bobby Fischer and was just, was pretty much, inventing the next iPhone out there with the plays he was calling against LSU, because it really wasn't that either. I mean, it pretty much looked like Dan Mullen could have called a draw play every drive, every play, and it probably would have worked.
Right.
I mean, that's how bad it looked for LSU. And no disrespect to LSU fans out there. I'm not trying to say, your program sucks, you're inferior, or anything like that. Y'all just had a bad game Saturday. And I'm not trying to, necessarily underplay the fact that Mississippi State's got a good quarterback and they're 3-0. But, SEC fans are well known for, kind of criticizing the Big Ten and other conferences for the quality of the opponents they've played. When they get to the playoffs, and I think that same thing can apply here. I really don't know that Mississippi State's played anybody yet either. So this might really be their first true test coming into Athens.
Yeah, I agree. All those are great points. Another big thing I think is could help Georgia out is Mississippi State coming off, a home game, big time win. Could get that hangover dump, adrenaline dump on the road. It's going to be at home. Georgia fans are going to be pumped up. I'm actually going to be in the house that night. I'm gonna make it up for the game. My sister got tickets, so I'm excited about that. But I think night game, Georgia's going to be pumped up. Big time atmosphere, ESPN. That's definitely going to help out Georgia. But yeah, really excited about that game. Also nervous. So I'm going to say this: the Bulldogs will win, no matter what, either way, right? Because they're the Bulldogs.
Well, that's right. I think it's going to be the White English Bulldogs that win Saturday. And again, I know some of that's self-admittedly some own reasons, but just I just think Georgia's the better coach team. I think we're a little bit more talented than them this year. I think what our potential weakness or Achilles heel after Eason's injury, Fromm has kind of turned into just being a real strength. And I guess kind of the key for us offensively is that we've got to be able to. I think we have to establish the run, kind of like we have in some of these other games. Once we kind of establish that intermediate passing game, show that we can make those throws, Mississippi State's going to have to back off. The other thing, too, is, it's a Todd Grantham defense, which, he's notorious for blitzing a lot.
Yeah.
So, that's going to mean that, there's going to be open lanes available for some quick passes as well.
Yeah.
Might make running potentially tough sledding. I mean, Mississippi State's got some good players on defense, like you mentioned. That said, we know how Grantham is, terrible with adjustments, and he likes to blitz a lot. So, as long as their offensive line can buy from, 3 to 5 seconds to get some short intermediate passing games going, we should be able to move the ball.
Also, that means you can throw it to the tight end, because usually if they're blitzing a lot, linebackers, they're in. So you got maybe over the top in the middle of the field, tight ends. Just saying.
That's true as well.
All right, so yeah, it should be an exciting game. ESPN, 7 p.m. Mississippi State comes to town. We're going to roll on and talk about some of the slate of games this weekend. I want to jump right out. Intriguing matchup. Vanderbilt coming off a big win at home against Kansas State. That was a good upset. So they're playing. They got Bama coming to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. Alabama minus 18.5. What do you think about that? You think Kevin Hart, coach of Vanderbilt, has anything for Bama coming to town?
No, I just think that, and I think you have to give Kevin Hart all the credit.
Derek, we're talking about Derek Mason. Sorry.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think he's done a great job of getting that program going in the right direction. I think he gets the most out of his players, but just Bama certainly does that. Hang on for a second.
Sure. All right, and so give me a prediction real quick for Alabama Vanderbilt with that 18.5 point spread. What's your thoughts? What's your prediction?
Sure. So first of all, Kevin Hart, as we like to call him, or Kevin Hart's twin brother, Derek Mason, I think you got to give him a lot of credit. He really kind of got Vanderbilt competitive. That said, they're still Vanderbilt, and it's still Nick Saban and a very talented Crimson Tide Alabama team that's coming to Nashville. I think Alabama wins that game. It certainly could be 18 points. It could be less, or it could be more. But again, I don't think that. To me, that's the real question. I don't think the question is whether or not Kevin Hart and company are going to win this game. It's just how bad Alabama's going to beat them.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say like 31-10, 30. I think close in the first half, and then Bama pulls away in the second half.
Why not? Pick a number.
Yeah, there you go. Another interesting I wanted to put up just because they lost their quarterback. So NC State, I believe, heading into Florida State with the backup quarterback. They didn't play last week, I believe, because of the hurricane. So it's Florida State minus 12, but everybody's still raving about NC State, that defensive line. So going to get your thoughts on that. NC State is 2-1, 1-2 straight after losing to Gamecocks opening weekend. Do you think NC State's got any kind of shot at Florida State with the backup quarterback?
Sure, but it's also a Florida State defense that gave Alabama fits.
Yeah.
opening weekend in Dallas that's got 5 stars and 4 stars chalked all over the field. And it's an NC State team that lost to South Carolina that just lost to Kentucky at home. So, again, the fact that you don't have your starting quarterback, Francois, that certainly hurts. Jimbo's a good enough play caller, though, that I think he can find enough offense, and that Florida State defense has got talent in bunches that I think, again, NC State may win, but, I think that's improbable. I think Florida State wins this game by maybe 10 points.
There you go. So, yeah, I think it'll be a little closer just because that NC State defense, keep it kind of close, but, Florida State, that one. Another interesting I wanted to throw out here, number 16, TCU is playing really well with Kenny Hill, and Patterson is the coach. Head into Stillwater at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy with the mullet. But it is Oklahoma State -10, -11 on the different betting sites. Get your thoughts on that. TCU is ranked 16th, and Oklahoma State's number 6.
And that could go either way. I think maybe at this point I'll go Oklahoma State. I think Georgia, a not very good Georgia team, beat TCU last year. I understand it's a different team. I don't think TCU noticeably improved that much. And Mike Gundy can put up some points. He's a man. He's over 40. I think Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'm actually going against that. I almost thought about putting this as Dog of the Week, but I switched it out. But just betting odds, I'm actually going to say TCU wins this outright. So take TCU plus 11 or 10, definitely all day. Big.
So you think TCU wins this game?
Yeah, TCU wins and they'll cover. So, yeah,
Okay.
I think they'll win. Coming off a big Oklahoma State, statistically, have given up a lot of points and yards recently. I know they're tough at home, but I like TCU's been rolling recently. But, yeah, that's my pick. Could be wrong. Another one to look at is number 4, Penn State, -12.5 against Iowa. Iowa's always tough at home. Some people are calling upset alert, but it's Penn State -12.5. So going to get, I think that they got a really good defense, but Iowa, I don't really know too much about them, but it's pretty big. Iowa's not ranked, but they are 3-0. Number 4, Penn State. Get your thoughts on that.
Well, right, and Penn State, it's they did well last year. Mine's the Rose Bowl. Again, I haven't watched enough of Iowa to really be able to tell. I've seen some highlights; they're undefeated, but I'm going to go Penn State.
There you go. I like Franklin's got him rolling, and that the defense is really good. I agree with that one.
Yep.
Justin couldn't make it last minute, but he did throw in his pick, his Golden Goose Blue Chip Special of the week. He is 2-0 the other 2 weeks. He wasn't on last week, but he wanted to take Arkansas State versus SMU and take the over. Arkansas State versus SMU, and the over is Justin's Golden Goose Blue Chip Special of the week, and he is 2-0. For more thoughts on that, call 1-800-SALT-1, 1-800-SALT-1 for your locks of the week. All right. That's a fake number, but anyway. And then I wanted to go to Trey's Dog of the Week. We were 2-0, but I did go with Tennessee plus 4.5 last week and got beat by a last-minute Hail Mary pass. God, that was a bad game. I think everything happened in the fourth quarter. That's 2 really bad teams, and I hope Georgia can beat both of them. Florida defeated Tennessee 26-24, so I didn't get it. But this week, Trey's Dog of the Week, I'm going to take Kentucky plus 3 against the Gators, and they're going to snap the 30 straight game losing streak. So Florida's defeated Kentucky 30 straight times. I mean, a lot of us were babies, little kids. Sean and I were whatever we were doing, playing video games.
Yeah.
Or as Sean would say, there's grown-ass men walking around that hasn't seen Kentucky beat Florida. But I was going to get your thoughts on that. I like Kentucky coming off that big win against South Carolina. And then as you saw, Florida got a lot of problems down there. I think a lot of those guys are still being suspended. Callaway might never play another down at Florida. He's looking at a felony coming on. But get your thoughts on that. But I believe it is at Kentucky. They got a brand new stadium. Get your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a year Kentucky was going to be able to do it, I think it's this year. Again, Florida's got a lot of problems. And even without the suspensions, they're going to have issues from the quarterback position and the other. Kentucky plays tough. Again, maybe not necessarily the most talented team out there, but they play sound fundamental defense, and they score enough. They kind of remind me a little bit of a Will Muschamp team from the standpoint that it's theoretically what Will Muschamp, I think, has always wanted to do, which is, play stout defense and, maybe score 24 to 31 a game and win that way. Well, that's kind of how Mark Stoops and Kentucky are. To me, it's still a coin toss. It's still Kentucky, and, Florida's got athletes, and, they've got a real good coach, more importantly than that, or certainly just as importantly than that, was Jim McElwain. So you got two really good coach teams, two teams that are probably comparable on talent. I mean, it's a coin toss, but, if there was a year that Kentucky had a legitimate shot of doing this, from an expectation standpoint going into the game, this is the year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I'm going to go, again, Kentucky +3, dog of the week. Yeah, and the last I wanted to end up on this, a lot of debates and everything going on. Top to bottom, do you think, besides Bama, of course, Mississippi State's coming on, could the East be better, finally, top to bottom, than the West? Because Auburn's down. I mean, they might lose a couple of games like 8-4, 9-3. It could be completely. I mean, they rolled around with School of the Blind Mercer, beat them 24-14. Jared Stidham overrated. LSU's down, just got beat up by Mississippi State, even though they are in the West. So I was going to get your thoughts on that. Could, the Georgias, Tennessee, Florida, or even South Carolina be a little better top to bottom than the West? Because the West has been dominant in the last several years.
Well, here's the thing. To quote our boy Big D, you have to go through mental gymnastics to me to anyway argue that the SEC East is better than the SEC West. Because here's why. The SEC West still has Alabama.
I agree.
And, in terms of the rest of the conference, pardon my French, but it's kind of the drizzling shits right now. I mean, Florida, who has kind of been the most consistent team in the East, is down. Kentucky, yeah, you're 3-0, all right. I mean, Georgia, we showed some promise so far. But you got Mississippi State on the other side, which is showing the same thing. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe upon further thought, maybe you can argue it because, I mean, clearly the best team of the conference is Alabama. After that, in terms of, so if you take them out and take, I guess.
Yeah, I was just saying take Bama out.
Because I guess you got Kentucky. But I don't know. Right now, you'd have to kind of call Mississippi State and Georgia even, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both undefeated. I still, even if Auburn's down, I still think Auburn's probably better than anybody else in the East, outside of like Georgia. I still think they're better than Kentucky and South Carolina. So I still think it goes to the West, man. Like, honestly, they may have, this whole thing that it's Auburn's down or whatever else. I mean, we're basing it off of the loss against, arguably the best defense in the country. Where their quarterback got sacked 8 times. That's not great. Yeah, I understand they rolled around with whoever the hell it was they played with last week, Mercer. But, come on. I mean, they've still got some talent. Stidham may not necessarily be the most accurate guy, but I'd still take, Auburn's still got a really good defense. I'd still, feeling more confident in them going a game against Kentucky or South Carolina than I would, the other way around. You still got Mississippi State. I mean, I think it's closer than it's been in years past, but I still think it's the West.
Okay, good thoughts. I just thought that was a good debate to ask. And one last thought on this. I know it's really early, so we're on week 4. What conference do you think might be the best so far? I know this is a debate. Do you think ACC is still in there? Clemson's rolling, probably going to make the playoffs again.
Big Ten.
Big Ten?
Yeah, at this point in the game, because you've got
Penn State.
Yeah, well, you got Penn State, you've got Michigan, you've got Iowa that's undefeated. I understand that Oklahoma knocked off Ohio State.
Yep, that's huge.
Yeah, but, Ohio State's still a good program. I think that, you take those four, name me a better Power Four in any other conference.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, Big Ten definitely saw. I think that's what 3 or 4 teams in top 15, top 10, which is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, there's some ongoing debates there. We'll continue that in the ongoing weeks. But big one Saturday, Mississippi State at Georgia. Hope we can hope we can pull it off. And any more thoughts? Anything to get off your chest, Sean? Anything you want to add?
Go Dogs.
There you go Dogs. Hopefully Georgia wins it in the close one.
Are you going to the game this Saturday?
Yes, sir. I believe my sister's got tickets, so I'll be in the house. 300 section, I believe. Can't wait. Night game. A little tailgating. Probably no drinking with me because I'm with the family. But hey, if we go down there and get a win. Last time I actually been there, I went to the last 2 G-Day games, but the last one I actually went to was Georgia Southern, a really close one with Mark Rick, 2015. We got the win, but it was ugly. Overtime.
Jeez.
All right. Well, that's another episode of Herschel Talkers, and we're out. Go Dogs.
Take 'em.